This is the artificial womb facility, a place where humans could be grown entirely from scratch. The devices you see here are called growth pods. Each growth pod is designed to replicate the same conditions that exist inside the mother's uterus. Growth pods are designed to host human fetuses until they are fully developed. These artificial wombs are designed to help premature babies to continue developing after their birth. But emerging scientific research is making it possible to use them to create designer humans entirely from scratch.
All right, Shalom first and foremost, giving all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rachak Badash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the men of the Lord, prophesying, preaching, and teaching on the highways and byways in sincerity and in truth. Shalom Barakatham. It's your brother Uriah. I want to go in on this lesson a little bit just to give Jake out there an idea of what this guy is up to and how this thing all ties to prophecy, which we've been preaching the whole time since we've been here, you know. So you have to forgive me. I'm a little bit under the weather. I got a bit of a cough, getting rid of the fever. But through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, y'all brothers be edified. Now you saw the intro to this video, which basically said Esau is figuring out a way. And when they say figuring, and they showing you to this on a video that's got 100-some thousand views, that basically means they've already figured it out, you know. So they have what you call, what he said, designer babies or designer humans. Now we know that Esau has been very fascinated with genetics for a very, very long time, and I would say all the way back from the time that he got his hands on us in the transatlantic slave trade, where he did all kind of experiments on us. He would torture us, you know. He would test our limits, so to speak. You know, he performed all kind of medical procedures and stuff on us. A lot of the medical advancements that he made, he did experimenting on Jake, you know, including sciences like gynecology, you know, and they would do all these things without anesthesia. All right, so you can thank the Israelites for the modern advancements of medical science, but at the same time, he's perverted that as well too. So, you know, with something called petroleum-based medicine. You know, if you look at the Rockefellers, they're in their American Medical Association, they went away from something called homeopathic practices to what they call modern medicine, so to speak. But anyway, you see that once Esau finds out a way to circumvent a creation of the Most High, he doesn't ever stop, man. He keeps going and going and going. And this is going to be the conundrum or the dilemma that Jake is going to be faced with again, just like we were in the Garden of Eden. You know, it's going to be all these alternative things that's going to, on face value, it's going to seem better, right? But when you really dissect it, when you really get inside of it and you look at the long-term outcome of it, it really just leads to death and destruction. Why? Because when the Lord created the earth, man, he said everything is good, you know. Now, I'll go back to Genesis 3 real quick. It says, I'll start at verse 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai had made, and said unto the woman, yeah, God hath said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden, meaning you're not supposed to dig into every philosophy, every single way. In other words, I gave you the way on how to live, all right? Because contrary to popular belief, listening to Christians, Adam was given the ways of life. He was given a version of the law, all right? Now, that's hard for Christians to understand because the law was really orally passed down and it wasn't codified until the time of Moses, all right, where we had a bunch of Israelites, all right, and he codified it and had it written down. He didn't write down just the 10 Commandments, but he had scribes write down all the commandments, and he put up leaders and captains over captains over captains to make sure that judgment went forth. Now, that doesn't mean that the law, which are the ways of life, all right, didn't exist before that. So when he's saying here, you should not eat of every tree of the garden, that's what he's going into, man. Alternative medicine, all the feminism, alternative ways to run a household, you know, uh, anything that's good and natural that the Most High created, this guy's going to be coming against, basically. Verse 2, it says, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. All right. So, in other words, the Most High gave you everything else you can partake in, man. You can live. He gave us pretty much the autonomy to do and live what we need to do, as long as we kept His ways, man. But it said, and the serpent said unto the woman, all right, ye shall not surely die. Now, this serpent is a what they call an anthropomorphic figure, which is basically when they take an animal or something and they put human characteristics on it, because we know snakes in the wilderness, they don't speak, they don't convince you of different things. So this is basically allegory, all right? And this is basically Satan, all right? This is the first incarnation of Esau, if you can believe it. All right, it says, for God doeth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So he's telling you that the Most High is just jealous. He doesn't want you to be able to circumvent his creation. So when you see things like this, where Esau's got an alternative way to give birth, that's basically what he's saying here. All right, here it is. The Most High created man and woman to be able to create this thing easily. All right, but he's saying no, that's not good enough. Woman, you can have it all. You can work a full job while your baby is gestating in some kind of plastic pod. All right, and you can create the baby however you want. You can make him 6'5". You can have him, you can give him green eyes or whatever you want him. You can design him. All right, so this is the same thing that we saw back in the day. It says, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and that's what this is. This is gonna seem good. You got everybody that's walking around that's just genetically superior. All right, it's gonna seem good, but ultimately you're gonna see long term it's gonna have problems, man. All right, because we're not wired to look all the same. All right, we're not wired for everybody to look beautiful. There has to be variation. All right. And everything, So I'll play a little bit more of this video, see what it says.
Entirely from scratch. Every human fetus requires around 37 weeks inside the mother's uterus to fully develop. And then comes birth. But not every human has this biological luxury. In fact,
now ask yourself this: how did he find out first how long it takes for a fetus to be viable? Through Jake, man. A lot of times they would kill us. They would rip babies out of our women's stomach. Feed babies to alligators. See how long it can survive on its own. That's how they first understood how long a baby can survive outside of the womb, because they weren't willing to do it to their own kids. And they used that information to build this.
Every year, around 15 million fetuses are born too early, and approximately 1 million of them die due to birth complications. The minimum number of weeks in which a developing fetus must stay in the womb is 24 weeks. If the fetus is born before that, the survival rate will go down. Even if the fetus survives, it will likely to experience lung issues and long-term neurological damage. Although baby incubators exist and they increase the chances of survival, they have their own limitation. If the fetus is born before 22 weeks, incubators are not likely to work. The artificial womb is an advanced version of baby incubators, and it promises to make the problem of premature births obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it work? In terms of design, the artificial womb consists of the growth chamber, which hosts the fetus. It replicates the same environment provided by the mother's uterus. It is the incubation chamber that provides the optimal temperature and humidity for the growth of the fetus. There is another container which provides the fetus with a constant stream of blood that is rich of oxygen until the moment of birth. The artificial womb is filled with the amniotic fluid, which is the liquid that surrounds the fetus inside the mother's uterus. This liquid is rich of the essential nutrients that are needed to sustain the unborn fetus inside the womb. The growth chamber also features advanced sensors coupled with artificial intelligence. These sensors monitor the fetus's vital signs during the development process, which include breathing and heartbeat.
All right, so you see the technology, they got artificial intelligence involved. All right, now if you watch that movie The Matrix, Salakia, that movie The Matrix, that's basically what they had, man. They basically had a bunch of people in these pods. They were fully grown into adulthood, and imagine just being born already jacked into the Matrix, you know, not even having any concept of reality of where everything is. That's what this guy wants, man. It's through the spirit that the Matrix came out recently, you know, because that's the it's been 20 years since it came out, since the last one came out, and now you see where this guy is heading, you know. This is where everything is going. It says Isaiah 47. And I'll start at 7. It says, "And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever." All right, so that thou didst not lay these things to heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. It says, "Therefore now hear this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that say in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children." All right, and this statement here, that spirit that Esau is going to have all of Babylon in, including Eve and all you 2/3 sellouts. All right, this is part of part of that pride. When you see things like this, you're going to think like, well, we don't need the Most High anymore. We can create life. We can do this. We can go to outer space. We can do whatever we want, you know. But the Lord has had to let technology get as far as it has, just to confound you, all right? But verse 9 it says, "But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection unto the multitude of thy sorceries. For the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments," man, because all of this is sorcery, man. All right. So, Lakia, anytime that you're trying to subvert the natural ways that the Most High created, you're trying to go your own way, which is the left-hand side, basically, that's going to be a major problem. And the Most High, eventually, he's gonna destroy you. All right. Look at verse 10. It says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness." This is a wicked thing, man. All right. There's a reason we can't remember our past lives. A reason why we can't choose our height, our size, our skin color, our texture of hair, our eyes. All right, because it's ultimately how we look is a secondary thing. All right, it's about the spirit that's in the individual. All right, and it says, "Thou hast said, none seeth me, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and no one else beside me." And the Lord is going to utterly jack these people up, man. You know, Eve is going to see this and be like, we don't need men. We don't need. They're already saying that before all of this, you know. So where do you think this is going? You know, let me skip a little bit ahead.
Ecto means outside, and Genesis. Babies inside an artificial environment is called ectogenesis. Ecto means outside, and Genesis means formation. And
Right.
it isn't really new.
So this is going to be outside of the Most High, man. All right, because in Genesis it tells you how things are formed. It tells you how the earth was formed. It tells you how humanity gets reproduced. It's through childbirth. All right, through the woman. All right, you can read that in Genesis chapter 3. All right, verse 16 says, "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, he shall rule over thee." Now, that's how the Most High set it up. So this really is outside of Genesis. I know when he's saying Genesis, he means the beginning or the formation of something, but that's the spirit, because this really is outside of what's written in Genesis, the 3rd chapter. He's going the alternative way. What the serpent offered Eve, he's trying to accomplish, man. And to be honest, he's pretty close. He's pretty close to accomplishing this thing, you know. But let's get 2 Thessalonians. Chapter 2, verse 3, I'll start at. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." All right. So there's been a great falling away. We've been talking about who Esau Edom is the entire time. All right. Despite being censored and mocked, you know, and scoffed at. But it says, "Who opposeth himself and exalted himself above all that is called God." And so who else would it be? Who else is doing this? Who else is trying to find alternative ways to give birth? Who's trying to find ways to leave the planet, to modify animals, modify plants? Anything the Most High created naturally, this guy's, he's got to go to it and see if he can make it better. All right? Because ultimately he believes that he has the potential to be better than the Most High, you know? It says, so that he is a God so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. All right? So this is part of those miracles we talked about that we know are written about in Revelation. All right? The miracle that he's able to perform in the sight of the beast, you know? This is part of it, man, you know? It's not just weapons. Everything in this society is a weapon when you think about it. From just the thing that's supposed to give you information, the news media, that's a weapon, because it's getting on there and it's constantly pounding nonsense into your head, all right? Completely destroying your understanding of what is, you know? So let me go back to Isaiah 14, and I'll end it here. This is Isaiah 14:13 says, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into the heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation." Meaning he wants to rule over everybody, including the Israelites. All right, and the sides of the north. Now we know historically, all throughout the scriptures, the north is usually talking about Esau, his kingdom. All right, specifically in the latter day times. All right, so that's what this guy wants. He wants to be superior. He wants to create everything, you know. And this is all going to lead up to things like metaverse. All right, because what's going to keep you preoccupied? Imagine having every sense of your body feeling like you're Superman, but really the entire time you're just sitting in a pod. You know? You're not... Salakia. You're not actually doing any of that. All right? He's just got a very demonic technology and witchcraft over you, you know? So, Lucky, let me go back to Isaiah 14. It says, verse 14, "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." All right? And that's the main point, basically. I wanted to bring that out. And it says, "Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." All right? So we know how this thing ends, but it's very, very important to see where this guy is heading, man. All right, and this is not something you want to be a part of, because what happened when the people in at Babel, they all came together, they all got into it, they were trying to raise this big tower up. Well, as soon as they were getting ready to unify everything, what did the Most High do, man? He came down and he scattered them, all right, and he confounded their languages and scattered them out in the different parts of the earth. All right, and that's how you get some of the older languages like Sanskrit and other things that are not Hebrew. All right. Because the Most High said no. I'm the Most High. And this is all going to happen again. So with that, hopefully our brothers were edified. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rachakwadash Wa Abba Babal and Shalom.